Good morning, everyone. Today I'll be presenting a pivotal paper by our group published in the Journal of Science and Medicine in Sport. The study is entitled The Influence of Winter Vitamin D Supplementation on Muscle Function and Injury Occurrence in Elite Ballet Dancers, a controlled study. This work is the second in the series that examines whether dancers need to supplement with vitamin D. To understand why this study was needed, we have to look at the unique physiology and environment of the dancer. First, the problem of vitamin D insufficiency is well documented in dancers. With limited sun exposure, some studies show insufficiency rates as high as 80% in this group, compared to under 50% in their outdoor counterparts. Second, we know that vitamin D is far more than just a bone health vitamin. It's a steroid hormone with receptors in muscle tissue, and its deficiency has been linked to impaired muscle function and reduced strength. Now consider the dancer. An elite ballet dancer trains 6 to 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, almost exclusively indoors. Previous work by this very author group had already confirmed that this specific cohort was deficient or insufficient during winter months. Yet most of the research on vitamin D supplementation at this time focused on elderly and fall prevention. There was a clear gap in knowledge regarding its effect on muscle function and critically on injury in this young, high-demand population. The aim of this study, therefore, was to see if a 4-month winter supplementation program could improve muscle strength and power and reduce the high injury rates we see in dance. The study used a controlled prospective design, which is a step below a randomized controlled trial. I'll explain why in a moment. The participants were 24 professional ballet dancers from a single prestigious international touring company. Crucially, the allocation to groups was not randomized. The authors had monitored this company's dancers in the previous year, found that all of them were either insufficient or deficient in winter. From an ethical standpoint, they felt they couldn't randomly deny a potential beneficial treatment. So they did the next best thing. They offered supplementation to everybody, and 7 dancers volunteered to be the control group, agreeing to delay their supplementation till after the study. This is a significant methodological point we'll come back to. The intervention was straightforward. The treatment group received a daily dose of 2,000 international units of vitamin D3 for 4 months from January to May. The key strength of the design was that all dancers were from the same company, with workloads controlled by a union contract. This meant that any differences between groups were less likely to be due to differences in training load. So what did we measure at the start of January and again in May? First, we assessed muscle strength using a 5-second maximum isometric contraction of the quads on the dominant leg. This was done on a custom-built chair with a load cell, giving us a precise measure of force. Second, we measured muscle power with a vertical jump, but importantly, they used the dance-specific protocol. Dancers jump from first position with their turned-out legs and arms at their sides. This wasn't just a generic athletic test, it was designed to be relevant to their actual performance. Finally, and perhaps most importantly for this population, we tracked injuries. The in-house physiotherapists recorded every injury that caused the dancer to miss more than 24 hours of activity. They used the standardized system to classify the injuries by type, severity, which allows for robust comparison. The results for muscle function were quite striking. For isometric strength, the intervention group showed a significant and substantial increase of 18.7%. Control group, on the other hand, showed virtually no change over the same 4 months. The statistical analysis confirmed this with a significant group-by-time interaction. The vertical jump data tells a similar story. The dancers taking vitamin D improved their jump height by just over 7%. The control group actually saw a slight, non-significant decline in their jump performance. So in both measures of muscle function, strength and power, the supplemented group got better, while the non-supplemented group stayed the same or got slightly worse. Now let's look at the injury data, because this is where the study has its most profound clinical implication. The control group, who did not receive the supplement, sustained injuries at a rate of 1.87 per 1,000 hours of dance. The intervention group's injury rate was just 0.55 per 1,000 hours, a reduction of over 70%. Looking at the raw numbers, in the control group, 5 out of the 7 dancers suffered at least one injury. In the intervention group, only 5 out of the 17 were injured. That's 71% versus 29%. All of these injuries were muscle strains or tears, and they were all classified as mild, meaning the dancer missed between 1 or 2 weeks of performance. This is a dramatic finding. A simple, low-cost nutritional intervention was associated with a massive reduction in injury risk in a group where injury can derail a career. So how do we interpret these findings? First, this study successfully extended the known benefits of vitamin D from elderly populations to young elite athletes. It showed that muscle is responsive to optimization of vitamin D status, even in a highly trained group. The differential improvement between strength and power is interesting. Strength went up 19%, while power went up 7%. The authors hypothesized this might be due to fiber type specific effect. Isometric strength tests recruit both type 1 and type 2 fibers, while the vertical jump is more dependent on powerful type 2 fibers. The greater relative gain in isometric tests might suggest that vitamin D has more pronounced effect on type 1 fibers or on the metabolic and calcium handling processes common to all fibers, which manifest more clearly in sustained contraction. But the most compelling link is between the improved strength and the reduced injury rate. We have a well-established body of literature showing that stronger muscles protect against injuries. It's very plausible that 19% increase in the strength provided a protective effect for the dancers in the intervention group, making them more resilient to the high forces and repetitive loading of their training. In conclusion, this study demonstrated that a 4-month daily dose of 2,000 international units of vitamin D3 during the winter led to significant improvements in muscle strength and power, and a significant reduction in injury in elite ballet dancers. This leads to several clear practical applications for anyone working with indoor athletes. First and foremost, monitor. We can't assume our athletes are sufficient, especially in winter. Testing is accessible and informative. Second, supplementation when necessary. For athletes identified as deficient or insufficient, supplementation appears to be a safe and effective strategy to improve muscle function. Third, consider this an injury prevention tool. The strength gains from correcting a deficiency may be a key factor in reducing the risk of muscle strains. Finally, the target should be to achieve normal serum levels above 30 nanograms per millimeter or 75 nanomoles per liter. The literature doesn't support chasing supraphysiological levels for extra performance, but it strongly supports getting athletes out of the insufficiency range. Of course, we must acknowledge the study's limitations. The sample size was small, and the lack of a true randomization, while ethically justified, introduces potential for selection bias. The control group, being volunteers, might have been different in some unmeasured way. We also don't have post-intervention blood levels, so we can't confirm the exact changes in vitamin D status. Despite these limitations, this study was a critical step forward, providing strong evidence that optimizing vitamin D status is a key component of health and performance for indoor athletes and dancers. Thank you for listening. Please see the full reference to the article if you're interested in reading the study in full. The next study in the series looks at how quickly vitamin D supplementation can affect muscle function.